Welcome to the PM Logic. Today, we are going to review project initiation phase, what it really means, how it shapes the trajectory of the project, and how project manager operate during this phase in real-world environments. In this video, I'll break down what project initiation truly represents, why most failures originate here, how the business case drive investment decisions, role of project charter, what does project success look like, how methodology selection influence execution, and how governance through phase gates protect organizational capital. If you want to understand project management beyond textbook definitions and start thinking like a structured leader who operate in enterprise environment, this video is for you. Let's get into it. Why project initiation matters. One of the biggest misconception in project management is that project fails during execution. In reality, most failures originate long before execution even begins. They fail in definition, they fail in unclear objectives, they fail in misaligned expectations. They fail because the organization never paused to ask a simple but critical question: should we even be doing this? Project initiation is not administrative setup, it is strategic filtration. It is where organizations separate good ideas from fundable initiatives. At its core, project initiation ensures four things: the right project, the right justification, the right alignment, and ultimately the right decision. The right project means we are solving a meaningful business problem, not chasing trends, not reacting emotionally, and not launching work simply because leadership enthusiasm is high. It means the initiative ties directly to a measurable business driver. The right justification means the economics make sense. The value outweighs the cost, the assumptions are tested, the return, whether financial, operational, or strategic, is defensible. The right alignment means stakeholders are not just informed, but genuinely aligned. Sponsors understand the objectives, delivery team understand the expectations, risk and compliance team understand exposure. Without alignment, friction shows up later in the form of resistance, delays, or rework. And finally, the right decision means leadership has enough structured information to either confidently proceed or confidently decline. In mature organizations, saying no early is just as strategic as saying yes. In corporate settings, especially in regulated industries like banking, insurance, healthcare, or energy, initiation is where exposure is assessed, benefits are challenged, assumptions are validated, and stakeholder alignment is secured. If this phase is weak, executions become damage control, but when initiation is strong, executions become disciplined delivery. If initiation is about making the right decision, the next logical question becomes: what structured mechanism helps us make that decision? The mechanism is the business case. A business case is not a formality, it is an investment justification document. It validates strategic alignment before operational effort begins. Executives do not fund projects, they fund outcomes. A well prepared business case answers three fundamental questions: what value will be delivered, why the investment is worth the capital outlay, and how success will be measured. In today's environment, where organizations are navigating inflation pressures, digital transformation demands, cybersecurity threats, and regulatory scrutiny, capital is not allocated casually. Consider recent digital transformation initiatives across major banks globally. When financial institutions modernize legacy system or migrate to cloud infrastructure, the business case is not about upgrading technology. It's about operational resilience, cybersecurity posture, regulatory compliance, and long-term cost efficiency. If the business case cannot demonstrate quantifiable benefit, for example, reduced operational risk, improved customer acquisition, cost savings, or regulatory alignment, it does not survive governance review. No strong business case means no strong project. Within the business case lies the value proposition. This is where the conversation shifts from activity to impact. A value proposition answers why the organization should care, why now is the right time, and why this solution is preferable to alternatives. Let's take a current example. Many organizations are investing in AI driven automation tools. The value proposition is not we want AI, it is reducing the processing time, increasing accuracy, improving customer response times, and creating a scalable operational capacity without proportional cost growth. When the value proposition is vague, executive sponsorship weakens. When it is sharp and measurable, alignment strengthens. Professionals who operate in portfolio governance environments understand this distinction immediately. Once value is articulated, we need to operationalize it. That's where business case objectives translate intent into structure. The business case must clarify benefits versus costs, funding rationale, timeline feasibility, ownership clarity, and the pathway to success. This is where project managers transition from coordinator to strategic partners. In mature organizations, the PM is not merely handed a business case, they contribute to refining it. They challenge assumptions and ensure feasibility. They identify interdependencies. In environments dealing with digital banking regulations or global supply chain instability, the business case must withstand scrutiny from finance, risk, audit, and executive leadership. A strong business case includes context, problem definition, objective alignment to strategy, alternative analysis, high level scope, cost benefit analysis, schedule estimation, risk exposure, and benefits realization metrics. Notice something important? It includes alternatives. Experienced leader rarely ask, "Can we do this?" They ask, "Should we do this instead of something else?" That is portfolio thinking. The business case is not just a project document, it's an investment decision tool. All of those components ultimately point to one thing: the underlying business driver. Because projects do not exist in isolation, they exist to serve a strategy. Every project must anchor to a business driver, for example, cost reduction, revenue growth, efficiency, regulatory compliance, speed to market, or the risk mitigation. If the project cannot clearly link to one of these, it's not an investment, it's just an initiative. Let's look at a real scenario. When governments imposed stricter data privacy regulations globally, organizations did not launch compliance program because it was interesting. They did it because regulatory exposure posed existential financial and reputational risks. The driver was compliance and risk avoidance. Without a measurable business driver, projects struggle to survive prioritization meetings. Once we understand why the project exists, the next question becomes, what does project success looks like? And success must be defined before execution begins. If success is not defined early, it will be debated at closure. Project success is not just delivering on time and on budget, that is delivery performance. True success means the intended business outcomes were realized, the solution met requirements, risks were managed proactively, and stakeholder adopted the change. We have all seen projects delivered perfectly that nobody used. That's not success. That's just a waste of capital. In today's transformation heavy environments, benefit realization is under increasing scrutiny. But success cannot be defined in a vacuum. It must be grounded in the broader organizational and environmental context. Projects are initiated to meet regulatory requirements, satisfy stakeholder needs, improve services, enable transformation, and respond to market shifts. Think about how quickly organizations pivoted during the pandemic. Remote work infrastructure projects, digital onboarding solutions, cybersecurity hardening initiatives. These were not optional improvements, they were strategic responses to environmental shifts. Understanding context prevents misalignment later. Without context, scope becomes unstable. So, once the context is understood and justification is validated, how does the project formally begins? This is where project charter comes into play. Project charter formally authorizes the project. It grants the project manager authority to apply organizational resources. In mature organizations, the charter defines purpose, objectives, high level scope, milestones, risks, sponsor authority, and accountability. Without a signed charter, the PM carries responsibility without authority, which is structurally flawed. The charter is the birth certificate of the project. It is also a governance safeguard. With formal authorization in place, the next step is clarifying direction, not detailed planning, but high level requirements and deliverables. We establish high level technical constraints and business targets, for example, compatibility requirements, integration boundaries, performance targets, and financial thresholds. We outline high level deliverables, including design, infrastructure, development, and testing, but not task level breakdowns. This ensures clarity without over engineering prematurely. Once direction is clear, the organization must decide how delivery will be structured, and the decision depends on the methodology. Methodology selection is not a trend preference, it's a governance decision. It should reflect requirement stability, risk exposure, regulatory sensitivity, and overall maturity of the organization. Agile works well in dynamic environments where requirements evolve and customer feedback loops are critical. Predictive model perform better in stable, compliance heavy, or infrastructure driven projects where change introduces significant cost or regulatory exposure. But beyond the label, agile or waterfall, what really matters is what methodology provides to the organization. It provides structure, control, and consistency. Selecting methodology based on trend rather than context is a governance error. Following industry hype instead of assessing project complexity often leads to misalignment, confusion, and unnecessary rework. Professionals do not ask what's popular, they ask what fits the risk profile and delivery environment of this project. This is structured leadership. Even with the right structure, initiation can still go wrong. Let's look at the common failures pattern professionals sees repeatedly. Ignoring stakeholders early leads to resistance. Overestimating benefits without validating assumptions lead to executive disappointment. Focusing on features instead of outcomes creates scope inflation. Treating initiation as documentation instead of alignment creates fragile foundations. These are not theoretical rests, these are real world failures pattern which create rework and resistance. To prevent those mistakes from compounding, organizations implement governance mechanism and that's where phase gates protect investment. At the end of each phase, leadership decides whether to proceed, adjust, pause, repeat or terminate. Terminating a project earlier is not failure. It's a disciplined capital management. Organizations that lack phase gate discipline often continue investing in initiatives long after value has eroded. So, when we step back and look at the full picture, initiation is not a checklist, it's a disciplined decision framework. Let's summarize what that really means. Initiation determines trajectory, planning only accelerates it. Strong projects begin with strong justification. A clear business case drives funding and alignment. The project charter grants authority to the PM. Success is defined early. Methodology must fit the context. Stakeholder alignment drives momentum. And phase gates protect investment. When initiation is structured, executions become controlled movement rather than chaos. Thank you for watching the complete video. I hope I was able to provide clarity and help you see project initiation beyond documentation as a strategic alignment, governance, and disciplined decision making. If you want to continue developing structured thinking and operate like a mature project professional in real world environments, follow the PM logic to learn project management with clarity, depth, and practical insight. I'll see you in the next video.